Okay, so today we're going deep on something pretty fascinating. Brown seaweed.
Oh, yeah.
And, not just like the culinary side of it,
Right.
but really like what's going on in the research about how these sea vegetables, I think people call them,
Fessy vegetables. Yep.
um, might actually have some pretty profound impacts on our health and lifespan.
Absolutely.
And in particular, we're going to be zeroing in on metabolic health.
Hmm.
So like how our bodies process energy and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you sent me that article, Brown Seaweed and SIRT6, Longevity and Metabolic Health.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot to digest, but really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and that's why we're here
Right.
to kind of break it down for our listener.
Right.
And we're not going to get lost in the weeds of all the scientific jargon.
Right.
We want to give you the key takeaways, the things that you can actually use.
The need to know.
You have the need to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, people have been eating brown seaweed for a long time, right?
Absolutely. For centuries.
It's not like,
It's not a new fad.
yeah, some brand new superfood
Right.
that just popped up.
I mean, think about all those coastal cultures around the world, using brown seaweed, not just for food, but also for medicine.
Right, like kombu.
Yeah, exactly. Kombu in Japan.
And in Europe, they use bladderwrack.
Bladderwrack, yeah, for different remedies.
Yeah, so there's a history here
Mm-hmm.
of people knowing that this stuff is good for you.
Exactly.
But now science is starting to like really dig into the how and the why.
Yeah, unpack it a little bit.
Yeah. And one of the really interesting things that they're finding is this connection to an enzyme called SIRT6.
SIRT6, yes.
So can you kind of give us a crash course on what SIRT6 is and why we should even care?
Okay, so SIRT6, it's a protein.
Okay.
It's in our cells, and it's kind of like a supervisor
Okay.
to make sure things are running smoothly.
Uh-huh.
And one of its biggest jobs is DNA repair.
Okay.
So, our DNA, that's like the instruction manual for our cells, right? It's constantly being used, copied.
Uh-huh.
Things can go wrong, errors pop up, and 4T6 is there to fix them.
Oh, like a little proofreader.
Exactly, a proofreader. Yeah. But it's not just DNA repair. SIRT6 is also really involved in metabolism.
Okay.
So how our bodies manage energy.
Right.
And here's the really intriguing part. It's also linked to aging.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
this tiny little thing in our cells that's kind of like a master controller for a bunch of really important stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so then the big question becomes, can something in brown seaweed actually like help SIRT6 work better?
Right. That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And the article really focuses on this compound called fucoidan.
Fucoidan.
Fucoidan, yeah, it's a mouthful.
It is.
But basically, it's a type of complex sugar, a polysaccharide,
Okay.
but it's got these special attachments called sulfate groups.
Yeah.
And those are what give it its unique abilities.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not just any old sugar. This is a bioactive compound. It actually interacts with our bodies in specific ways.
Okay.
And certain types of brown seaweed are just loaded with this fucoidan.
Okay, so give us some examples of the types of seaweed that we might actually like recognize.
Sure. So some of the ones mentioned in the article are Fucus vesiculosus, also known as bladderwrack.
Okay.
Undaria pinnatifida, that's wakame.
Wakame. I know wakame.
You find that in miso soup a lot.
Yeah.
And then Laminaria japonica, that's kombu,
Kombu.
used to make Japanese broth.
Yeah, so these aren't like, some weird exotic seaweeds. These are things that people actually eat
Exactly.
pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So the article talks about a 2017 study that really looked into this whole like brown seaweed SRT6 connection.
Yeah, they took extracts from 5 different brown algae.
Okay.
Fucus vesiculosus, Cystocera tamariscifolia, Cystocera noticalis, and Alaria esculenta.
Well, I'm not even going to try to repeat all those.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
But the takeaway was that some of these extracts actually boosted the activity of SIRT6.
Exactly. 3 out of the 5 significantly increased SIRT6 activity.
Wow. So it's like they were giving SIRT6 a little boost.
Yeah, like an extra shot of espresso.
Yeah, exactly.
And the one that really stood out was Fucus adstitius.
Okay. Fucus adstitius.
That one had the most potent effect on SIRT6.
Interesting.
Yeah, and to really pinpoint what was going on, they used this technique called mass spectrometry,
Okay.
which basically lets you identify the different molecules in a substance.
Uh-huh.
And they confirmed that, yeah, fucoidan, that was a primary player in this whole SIRT6 activation thing.
Okay, so it's not just like a general brown seaweed thing. It's
Right.
like this specific compound.
Right, it's the fucoidan that seems to be doing the heavy lifting.
Got it. Okay, so So let's talk about why this matters for like our health and our lifespan.
Okay.
Because the article really dives into these potential anti-aging effects.
Right.
And we talked about how SIRT6 is involved in DNA repair. So can you explain, like, why is that so crucial for aging?
Well, like we said, our DNA is that instruction manual for our cells, right?
Right.
And over time, just through living,
Yeah.
our DNA can get damaged.
Okay.
Little tears, smudges, errors, all sorts of things.
Makes sense.
And SIRT6 is part of the repair crew that goes in and fixes those problems.
Okay.
And keeping our DNA accurate is super important because when those errors build up, our cells can start to malfunction.
Uh-huh.
And that's a big part of what drives the aging process.
No, it's like if your car manual is all messed up,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to fix your car very well.
Exactly. You're going to have problems.
Yeah.
And it's the same with our cells.
Okay.
If the instructions are faulty, things start to go wrong.
Got it. Okay. So how does SIRT6 actually like affect how long we live?
Well, what's fascinating is that studies in animals have shown
Right.
that when you have more SIRT6 activity or higher levels of it,
Uh-huh.
animals tend to live longer.
Yeah.
It's like being a really good DNA repairman actually helps the whole organism stay healthier for longer.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So the idea here is that if fucoidan can boost SIRT6,
Mm-hmm.
it might help our bodies repair that DNA damage more efficiently and maybe slow down some of those like core biological processes of aging.
Right. It's not about immortality,
Right.
but it could be about extending that period of healthy living.
That health span.
The health span,
Yeah,
exactly.
so it's not just about living longer. It's about living better for longer.
Absolutely. Quality of life is key.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people are really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we talked about DNA repair,
Right.
but the article also mentioned something called oxidative stress
Yes.
and how fucoidan might help with that too.
Right. So oxidative stress, that's basically when you have an imbalance
Okay.
between these things called free radicals,
Uh-huh.
which are kind of like unstable molecules that can damage cells,
Okay.
and antioxidants, which are the good guys that neutralize them.
Got it.
So when you have too much oxidative stress, it's like rusting from the inside out.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, it's not good. It contributes to aging and all sorts of diseases.
Okay.
And fucoidan, it seems to have antioxidant properties. So it can help protect our cells from that damage.
Interesting. Okay, so it's kind of like a two-pronged approach.
Mm-hmm.
Fucoidan boosting SIRT6 to repair DNA,
Right.
and then also acting as an antioxidant to kind of protect against that damage in the first place.
Exactly. A double whammy against aging.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about metabolism,
Yeah.
because that's another big area where SIRT6 seems to play a role.
A huge role.
Yeah. So how does SIRT6 influence how our bodies use energy?
Well, SIRT6 is really involved in regulating how we process sugars like glucose
Mm-hmm.
and fats
Okay.
for energy.
Makes sense.
It helps maintain that balance within our cells.
Okay.
And there's some really interesting research, specifically a 2020 PMC study that found that when SIRT6 is more active, it can improve insulin sensitivity.
Now, what does that mean exactly?
Well, think of your cells as having doors
Okay.
that let glucose in for fuel.
Okay.
Insulin is like the key that opens those doors.
Okay.
When you have good insulin sensitivity, the key works smoothly.
Uh-huh.
But if your sensitivity goes down, those doors get harder to open,
Okay.
and you end up with high blood sugar.
Got it.
So SIRT6 seems to help keep those doors responsive.
Interesting. So it's like keeping that whole system running efficiently.
Exactly.
No.
And on top of that, there's also research suggesting that SIRT6 can help prevent too much fat from building up.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
if fucoidan can help SIRT6 do its job better,
Mm-hmm.
we might be talking about a natural way to improve blood sugar control and maintain a healthy weight.
Potentially, yes.
I mean, that would be huge for so many people.
It would. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it kind of positions fucoidan as this potentially valuable tool
Yeah.
for supporting metabolic health and maybe even helping manage conditions like type 2 diabetes and obesity.
Right. But of course, this is still early research.
Right. We need more studies.
Yeah.
But the early findings are definitely promising.
They are. They're really interesting. Okay, so we've talked about aging. We've talked about metabolism.
Right.
The article also mentions that fucoidan might have anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective properties.
Yes.
So how does that all fit into this picture?
Well, it's all connected, really.
Where?
We know now that chronic inflammation, that low-grade inflammation that's always simmering in the background,
Yeah.
That plays a huge role in a lot of age-related diseases,
Okay.
including things like Alzheimer's,
Right.
which affects the brain.
Uh-huh.
And fucoidan has been shown to have anti-inflammatory effects.
Mm-hmm.
It can basically turn down the volume on those pro-inflammatory molecules.
Okay, so those are like the signals that are causing the inflammation.
Exactly. They're like the alarm bells that keep going off.
Uh-huh.
And if they're constantly ringing, it causes damage.
Got it.
Fucoidan can quiet them down.
Okay.
It also helps reduce oxidative damage, which we talked about.
Right.
That also contributes to inflammation.
So it's kind of like a multifaceted approach to tackling inflammation.
Absolutely. It's hitting it from multiple angles.
Interesting. Okay, so by calming down this chronic inflammation, could fucoidan potentially have a positive impact on brain health as we age?
That's the hope.
Yeah.
If it can reduce inflammation and damage in the brain,
Uh-huh.
it could potentially help preserve cognitive function,
Yeah.
keep our brains sharper for longer.
I like that. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to touch on was this connection to mitochondria and muscle health.
Oh, yeah.
The article mentioned a 2023 study that looked into that.
Right. So that study focused on several beneficial compounds in brown seaweed,
Okay.
including fucoidan,
Uh-huh.
and they found that these compounds could actually enhance mitochondrial function.
Okay, now remind us what mitochondria are.
Mitochondria are like the tiny powerhouses inside our cells.
Okay.
They produce the energy we need to do everything.
Got it.
But as we get older, they can become less efficient,
Okay.
like little engines that are starting to sputter.
Yeah, like an old car battery.
Exactly.
Real.
So this study found that these compounds from brown seaweed could help rev those engines back up.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what about muscle health?
Well, they also observed that these compounds seem to support muscle strength in aging animals.
Interesting.
So it's like a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
More energy and stronger muscles.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
So how does SIRT6 fit into all of this?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
While that 2023 study looked at a broader range of compounds than just fucoidan,
Okay.
the link back to SIRT6 is pretty likely.
Okay.
Because SIRT6 has been shown to be involved in creating new mitochondria,
Uh-huh.
a process called mitochondrial biogenesis.
Okay.
So if fucoidan is activating SIRT6, it could be contributing to the production of more of those healthy energy-producing mitochondria.
Okay, so more energy, better muscle function.
Exactly. And that could help counteract age-related muscle loss, which is called sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
so to kind of bring it all together,
Yeah.
it seems like brown seaweed,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically this fucoidan compound,
Mm-hmm.
is showing some really interesting potential for activating SIRT6.
Absolutely.
And that activation seems to have all these ripple effects.
Yeah.
From slowing down aging at the cellular level
Right.
to improving metabolism,
Mhm.
reducing inflammation, potentially protecting our brains, even helping us maintain muscle strength as we get older.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing that something that just grows in the ocean could have all these potential benefits.
I know. It's really exciting for researchers.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important to note that
Yeah.
we still need more research,
Absolutely.
especially those long-term clinical trials in humans, to really confirm all these effects and figure out the best ways to incorporate brown seaweed or fucoidan into our diets.
Yeah, like how much should we be eating?
Right.
How well do our bodies absorb it?
Yeah.
What are the long-term effects?
All those good questions.
Exactly. Those are the things we need to figure out.
Yeah. But it's definitely a fascinating area and one that I think is worth paying attention to.
I agree.
So for our listener,
Yeah.
think about that brown seaweed is already a part of so many different cultures and cuisines.
Mm-hmm.
Could incorporating it more regularly into your diet be a really simple,
Yeah.
yet potentially powerful way to support your health and well-being?
Possibly.
And what parts of this deep dive really sparked your interest?
Yeah.
What other questions do you have about brown seaweed and SIRT6?
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole new world to explore,
It really is.
and we've just scratched the surface.
Absolutely.
I think it's really exciting to think about how we can use natural compounds like this to really influence our health span, the period of our lives where we're healthy and active.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
It is.
To live well for as long as possible.
Exactly.
And this research could be a big step in that direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for breaking it all down for us.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Always good to chat.
Yep, always. All right, we'll catch you next time.
Sounds good.
Bye.